他们的恐惧是我们的武器，我们的胜利。谢谢了，兄弟姐妹们，你们健身了吗？行动，行动，行动！中共，你完了 ！Take down the CCP！
For the games you want to play, bring it on and I will fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over. Cause we're taking down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all life for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
中共，你完了！干灭中国共产党这个 CCP， 才能让我们远离恐惧。Take down CCP。
They try to scare the nation with fabrication, but we see through the lies. We won't fall, we will fight you back. Police corruption with crooked assumption. They ran our lives, but no more. We will win. We will take down the CCP. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. We will fight till they're all gone. We rejoice when there's no more. Let's take down the CCP. They have all life for too long. We will end what they do wrong. Spread the word all through Hong Kong. Let's take down the CCP. Let the bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
站起来吧！
Let the bullets fly a little
被
longer.
奴役的人
Let
们，
the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
行动！
Let the bullets fly a little
你
longer.
完了
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
！Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer. Bullets fly a little longer, and you will surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer. We will have freedom to live. We will win. You'll surrender. Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down
Let the bullets fly a little longer.
Take down the evil CCP.
Hello, welcome to the NFSC Friday special. We have our special guest, Mr. Stephen K. Bannon, here with us. So I know Trump just went on live talking about trade and Ukraine crisis. And my first question for you, Steve, is about trade. We know that the U.S. relationship isn't about, it's fundamentally irreconcilable. It's about a value, it's about way of life. And trade is not going to solve all the problems between U.S. and China. And the NFSC knows the hot buttons to push that would absolutely deliver a final blow to the CCP, and they are, the first is completely decoupling. The United States is completely decoupling with the CCP, cutting off the funds and technology. And the second is the CCP expose the hidden wealth of Xi Jinping and the other 100 or so kleptocrats' families' hidden wealth in the West, and also their paraphilia and pedophilia, sexual debauchery. So my question to you is, Mr. Bannon, do you think Trump administration will press these two hottest buttons that I just mentioned anytime soon?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ava, 100%. I think what people should take, particularly Lao Beijing in the mainland, is that, he's not just talking about 10% tariffs, he's talking about 20%. And he understands, because of the intelligence briefings, the weakness of the Chinese Communist Party right now, and how they're mismanaging the country. I think it's very important that people understand these tariffs recommend a victory for all of us that are for decoupling. Mm-hmm. Because, as you know, the Wall Street crowd and the big tech crowd are pressing President Trump for accommodation because they make a lot of money with the Chinese Communist Party, the hardcore anti-CCP. And I will tell you, Secretary of State Rubio and National Security Advisor Waltz and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth are all in our camps. They are all decoupling guys. And so I think people should look at these tariffs as a decoupling device. I will also say I agree with you 100% on your second point about this, about the stolen wealth of Lao Beijing and the Chinese people by senior cadre members of the CCP and really funneled into the West. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio finished that report in the Senate and has not been released yet. We are pushing for it to be released. There's a quite definitive report by the intelligence community and the Senate made for Rubio when he was on the Senate Intelligence to address specifically this issue. The wealth that's been siphoned out of China into the West of the Chinese Communist Party. So on both your points, and I think President Trump is going to very much press forward with tariffs. He said he's going to go reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. And for your audience that hasn't had a chance to, I think Alex Leary, one of the best reporters in D.C., has an amazing piece out on yesterday's Wall Street Journal that basically reiterates many of these points, particularly President Trump's going to be very aggressive on tariffs, and that Xi and his senior members of the Chinese Communist Party are so concerned that they're studying very closely, including Liu and Wang Xishan and that entire crew is studying the Soviet Union in the 70s and in the 80s under Reagan to figure out, they feel they're in a box by America and, quite frankly, soon by America and Russia.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
As you said, thank you, Mr. Bannon. The article is very interesting because there's a lot of points, as you mentioned, it's right on the point. But there are some of the things we are actually wanted to caution in the United States and this Trump administration be really careful, because we know, Miles School shared with us, we know what the CCP's usual stalwalling tactics would be, because they used it in the first term. Okay, so they pretending, they wanted to achieve a deal, but they just talks. Okay, and they waited out until the power shift between the parties, right? Because election come in and they seized that opportunity. And meantime, they exhausted Trump's credibility in time. So I wanted to ask you, knowing the lessons in the first round of the trade deal, do you think that Trump would prepare better for the political warfare tactics that the CCP has been using?
I think he has. I think he has prepared much better. I think he's, although I think he was very prepared the first time, I think he's prepared much better. And I think he has his, number one team of Peter Navarro, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, who today was on, gave a major address yesterday at the New York Economic Club, and then followed it up today with a live interview for about 45 minutes on Squawk Box, talking about many of these same issues. So no, I think he's learned a lot of lessons. He's particularly learned how the Chinese Communist Party is not to be trusted in negotiations. Let's just go back to the first term. Everybody, I'm sure, remembers that we spent 2 years intensely negotiating a deal that would totally integrate the CCP into the Western economy, and eventually get rid of stuff like slave labor, and get rid of state-owned industries. It would get rid of all the issues and problems that the West have with the Chinese Communist Party, and the way they run their economy off the slave labor of Lao Beijing. It hurts every economy. After 2 years of negotiation, in May of 2019, after he held the Belt and Road Initiative, Miles reminded me that was the first big One Belt, One Road conference. It was actually done in conjunction with Putin. That after it was over, they decided, Xi and Wang Xishan decided after 2 years they were not going to honor the treaty, not going to sign the treaty. And they told Liu to call his counterpart, right, in the United States, and tell him, hey, no deal. Immediately after that, Xi declared a people's war against the United States, unrestricted warfare.
Yes.
So we remember the lessons of that very closely. Also, people should remember, Miles, the very first time that Miles told me about the pandemic was when I went up to New York. We were going to have our annual live broadcast for many, many hours and days on Chinese New Year's. And at the night before, at the dinner with Bill Gertz and other dignitaries, Miles informed us that, hey, there wasn't going to be a Chinese New Year's this year because of what turned out to be the pandemic, the Wuhan COVID-19.
Yeah.
And Miles was, weeks and weeks ahead of that. So, and Miles was very upfront, given his sources at the time, to say, hey, the Chinese Communist Party has released this bioweapon because they don't see any other way to stop Trump. I think President Trump has taken those lessons on. Now, I will tell you, President Trump does not want a shooting war, and he particularly does not want a shooting war around Taiwan. If push comes to shove, he will do it, but he'd rather get some sort of working relationship with the CCP that avoids that. But all of this will be part of, I think, in the overall architecture of decoupling. I think it's pretty obvious with these tariffs, with non-tariff things that Trump's going to do. It just reinforces what the ambassador to the United States said, which is, we consider this war, we consider it economic war, we're prepared to fight this, and we're prepared to fight any war that the West wants to bring to us. They've been very aggressive in their response, and I'm not sure it has been taken aboard. It doesn't sit very well with senior people in Washington.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
Download Gettr right now.
好，全球的战友大家好啊！今天是美东时间的3月10号，现在是早上的10点43，然后咱们按时的联盟汇报。那首先还是先从咱们的工作开始。首先第一个呢，还是想说刚才大家看到了班农先生，这是连续第三周在咱们 NFSC Speaks 上来做节目，来接受咱们的采访。而且我相信他谈到的所有的内容都是大家非常关注的，应该说是全球的人，尤其是墙内的所有的中国人都应该去关注的，因为这些全球，尤其是在美国发生的所有的政策的转变，所有出台的新的政策，新的人的讲话，可以说跟我们每一个中国人都息息相关。所以这块呢，我也是非常开心，也能够非常开心的看到班农先生能够每一星期都能来。我们希望呢，这个采访呢会持续下去，而且呢，我们英文世界的节目真的也是重中之重。我们也正在商量，在后台准备新的节目，还会有新的战友加入，包括这样的这个 NFSC 这样的一个对班农先生的这些采访，都会有新的战友会出来，大家都会看到更多的优秀的战友出来参与我们联盟的所有的节目，所有的这个后台的工作。那包括其实这个周末这个老椅子会上，那也是我们的新的战友 Blue Rose 呢，又是第2次来主持，以后都会由他来主持了。因为我们9统像菲菲以前的工作，首先呢也是感谢菲菲以前做的所有的工作在老椅子。那么现在呢，我们会让更多的有能力的老的战友自己来做更多的努力，更多的工作，也是非常开心看到这些战友能够出来，而且能力非常的强每一次去参加这样的老椅子，跟老椅子去开会，能够跟大家有交流，然后都非常的开心。而且我们的 酒桶的这个成员呢，很多都会到，有三票老师，尤其也在每一次会上都会给大家解读很多的这个时政，非常的好。那还有一点呢，我想说的就是咱们宣统和议统的工作。最近呢，这个宣统和议统做了一些很大量的工作，在朝前推进，包括在这个制度的一些制定上，都是在朝前进。我也很开心的看到呢，农场的配合和农场的一起跟这个宣统议统来工作，因为这块是我们新中国联邦的重中之重，所以呢也是它的一个工作重点。我也希望在接下来的工作呢，所有的农场都能够去积极的配合，因为我们大家在一起，今天走到这个时候，这个灭共的关键时候是非常不容易的。那么每个人都可以有不同的工作方式，有不同的一些想法，这都没有问题，可以在后台提出来，可以大家一起去商量，一起去来讨论。但是，一旦有了一个结果，或者说有了现在的这样的一个方式，就一定要去执行、去配合，因为这样才是一个团体要做的事情。在后台可以去讨论，没有问题，但是在做的过程中，一定要先朝前做，而不是说停下来争吵不休。这个是我非常开心看到的。现在所有的农场、所有的 CEO 都能够基本上做到这一点，能够去配合酒桶完成应该完成的工作。这一点也是我觉得，应该是农场和 CEO 呢切实的负起了自己的责任，无论是对自己农场内部的工作，还是对于联盟的工作，都应该是这样的一个状态。而且有制度，我上个星期提到了法农的按制度做了一些决定。那么昨天的会议上也有提到，我们有很多战友希望能够跟我，包括跟咱们酒桶、跟联盟的很多战友直接沟通，想要这个联系方式。那我昨天也说了，人统、神统会出一个这样的一个规则。原理上，所有战友碰到的问题或解决，应该是从农场层面来开始。一直到这个农场解决不了，如果解决不了，那农场也需要，包括农场主 CEO 要告诉联盟为什么解决不了这个问题一定是要回到这里嘛，因为有很多的问题虽然是个人的，但是这些问题是比较普遍的。那么在联盟会上可以统一的告诉农场主 CEO， 甚至每个农场对接的战友就可以回答这些问题了。所以这块呢，我也是希望农场有这样的一个制度，能够有阶梯性的来处理工作，能够把自己的责任负起来。第二个工作重点就是咱们的这个 DOJ 的 forfeiture 的 claim 这块呢，我们应该是昨天开了这样的，尤其是数字银行开了这个线下的回答问题的会议。哈雷包括内克都有参加，我有去了很短的一段时间，回答了几个问题。那这块呢，我们也已经有很大的一个进展。我想在这里说的就是，联盟在这里所做的工作就是协助大家、帮助大家，提供所有我们能够了解到的信息，我们能够了解的资源，然后给大家。尤其是我那天去咱们数字银行群，因为这些数字银行的群的战友并不是很多，但我相信每一个战友都是非常有智慧、非常有决断力的。他们缺的是什么？缺的是信息，缺的是资讯。那么我们联盟做的这个事情就是，我们把我们能够了解到的，因为每一个战友个人他的时间精力是有限的，他能够reach到的这些资源也是有限的，而联盟就在一方面要做到我们能够做的，把所有我们了解到的资讯信息一五一十的呈现给所有的战友，而战友会根据自己的情况、自己的判断来做出对自己最有利的决定。所以这块的话呢，我想在 claim 这块呢，我们好几个团队，数字银行还有包括协联储这块呢，都会在推进。我们会把我们了解到的所有的信息传递给大家，然后大家自己来做最终的有利个人的判断。而且我相信很多的战友当时也参加了跟 Gettr 的这样一个电话会议。这些 claim， 尤其是 remission 这块，我们每个人都必须去做，因为这是你的资产，你不希望交了税交给政府拿去使用，更不希望被坏人拿走。好，这个是咱们在 claim 这个方向上上个星期做的一些工作和推进。那接下来还会有很多的具体的工作，希望大家跟这些团队的成员呢能够合作。还有一些新的答疑会不定期的推出，根据这个情况的变化，会给大家做更具体的一些回答。好，那这个是 咱们在 claim 方向的一些进展。还有一个我想说的就是上个星期非常开心看到咱们的灭共纪念卡呢，真的是受到所有的欢迎，而且也是可以说是备受关注吧。共产党也是应该是被吓怕了。今天早上还是昨天晚上我就得知这个 OKX 还有 DEX 整个下架了咱们的这个 TDCCP 这个纪念卡的信息。可以想而知，一个在上了公链，在一个所谓这个去中心化的一个交易所上能够把我们的信息屏蔽，那我们就可以知道对方有多害怕。所以我想说，我们的这个灭共的纪念卡真的是在这个时候是打疼了共产党的。我看到所有咱们战友这个3个火苗在自己的名字后面加上的时候，我是非常开心，尤其看到这个评论区看到一些这个社交媒体上大家评论的时候，都带着这个3个火，就看到了灭共的信息。这3团火是什么？我觉得第1团火是我们对于共产党的那种怒火，他们在过去几十年对中国人犯下的那些罪行。第2把火，我相信是点燃了我们所有人的信心，就是相信共产党一定会被灭。最后一个就是点燃了我们的希望，灭共之后，新中国联邦，我们所有的中国人都有更美好的未来。所以我想这一块我非常感谢在后台付出努力的，还有所有支持、认可咱们灭共纪念卡，在这个时候，因为它是一个时代的象征，它是一个灭共决心的象征，就是这样子。而且我觉得我们的灭共纪念卡要比 MAGA 的帽子更出色。为什么 MAGA 的帽子我觉得它只有在聚会的时候你能戴上，上街的时候它都是而我们这个可以在没有任何阻挡的情况下，任何的社交媒体上都可以看到我们的3把火。上了公链它的确是挡不住的，非常开心。好，那接下来我想就很快的说一下，我觉得最近根据一些事情，我的一些简单的有些想法跟大家一起分享。因为最近的这个 X 上，尤其是昨天1-2天出现的这个一些所谓的新出来一些人，我们有战友去转他们的帖，还甚至去参加他们的 space， 还有一些战友自己在包括自己的农场，包括自己在一些小群里头发言。我觉得这里头就尤其是 X 上这个事件，我觉得就是回头看呢，我们爆料革命，我们战友真的要自信。新中国联邦，我们灭共不求人。我们要有自己的实力，我们在打造自己的实力，我们也拥有的自己的实力。在过去出了所谓的很多的大咖，包括网上的什么贝雷帽呀，什么这个先生那个先生，但是我相信，过去的这些几年，经过爆料革命的这个历练以后，我们的战友，第一，我们有了判断力。很多人出来之后，我们就是会先有自己的判断了，非常开心的看到这一点。还有一点，我们战友真的要有自信。如果说那些刚出来的人，我们要去看他的帖的话，那我们见过的大咖太多了，班农先生、纳瓦罗先生 ，Ava 还采访过现在的 FBI 的这个 Director Kash Patel。我们见的大咖太多了，我们新中国联邦自己就是一个最大的。所以在这一块呢，我相信我们战友是需要有自信的，我们不需要去依靠这些人。如果这些人有一些这个美国人听到我们的声音，听到我们传达给他们的一些警惕，让他们清醒了，来支持我们，这是非常好的。我们也喜欢看到这样的情况。但是他支持的不是我们，他支持的是他自己，因为灭共对他们也很重要。所以从这一点角度上说，我们战友们一定要自信。我们如果要转帖，我们应该转那些更大的咖，皮特纳瓦罗这个 Marco Rubio， 对吧？这些真正的灭共的，刚才班农先生提到了好几个名字。真正的有实力、有能力去灭共的人，然后我们对自己要有信心。我们自己的战友有时候发的帖子是非常非常精彩的。还有一些就是跟自信对面的一个就是大头了有一些人我看到了，在自己的农场里头说自己什么很牛啊，做了很多贡献呀，包括什么就有的人甚至说什么我最了解文贵先生啦。文贵先生跟我有默契啦，真的吗？是不是有点太头大了？我想说的是，我们一直也在强调的是，真正灭共的力量在背后，在墙内。我们所有面上的这些战友，我们做的事情可能连1%都做不到。 所以千万不要躺在自己过去做的一点点小小的事情，然后自大。还有的人说我拿掉红卫了，所以我就不在盖特上直播了，我去 X， 我太欢迎了，我双手双脚赞成您去 X 上。不管你是做金融的还是做音乐的，你尽管去 X 上，你能带来8万粉丝，给自己带来了经济收入，还能把我们灭共的信息传出去，为什么不呢？哎呀，把你的红卫拿掉了，然后不让你做一些节目了，你就在里头觉得好像失去了影响力了。我希望您把您的影响力带到圈外去，跟我们的 NFT 一样，跟我们的灭共纪念卡一样，而不是天天 complain。真正有实力的时候，是在联盟需要的时候，是在战友需要你的时候，你能够拔刀相助，你能够慷慨解囊，不是只打嘴炮。这就是头大，觉得自己做了很多事情，觉得自己有影响力。所以我想，就是我们真正的战友要有自信。如果让我来看的话，我们爆料革命者有2种，就说如果说贡献的话，一个是大咖，一个是英雄。大咖就是面上的，英雄是真正在背后做事的人。当然，面上的也可以是英雄，也有很多大咖也是直接就是英雄。我最不希望看到的就是有人把自己觉得自己是大咖，但是其实是个小熊，在后头什么都不做。你真正有事找他的时候，他没有什么能力；你真正有事让他帮忙的时候，他跑得比谁都快。那些过去的烂人，我们根本都不需要提。什么蛤蟆，不需要提。坏人自然有法律去收拾他们，自然有正义去等着他们。还有那些什么烂人，真的就是在我们这个灭共的大火面前，什么小雨，直接就是瞬间蒸发了，我根本连个空气都看不到。我们真正的战友就应该知道自己要做什么，每天坚持。每个人有能力的大小，但是只要我们付出。文贵先生上一次在电话里就提到的，像我们小白白，像我们的翠萍大姐，她付出的自己的几乎都是自己的全部，自己能付出的。有的人付出的好像表面上数字挺大，或者是，但是你真的是真心付出，或者付出了你能付出的吗？不一定吧。所以这点我想跟大家分享的就是这一点，大家一定要提醒自己。还有一点我想跟大家分享的就是，上个星期五我还是跟燕平有一个视频对话，在上一个星期五是办公室的战友跟燕平有见过。那燕平在里头就提到过，其实苍天也提到过，他很开心的就是他能够看到蓝天了，看到天空了。他今天也告诉我，让我提醒大家，因为上午我们还有一个通话，简短的通话。他让我告诉所有的战友，你们应该珍惜现在所有的一切，珍惜现在所有的灭共的形式，珍惜自己身边的战友。战友可能是跟你一起灭共的，可能不会成为你的朋友，可能你们在事情上做事的方法上有区别，有不同，都不影响我们一起去灭共。他让我提醒大家，真的珍惜现在，珍惜你们能够看到蓝天，看到星空。因为当你看到那个时候，你要知道自由有多么重要。当你看到天空的时候，你知道自己是多么小，但是同时我们也在做一件伟大的事情。好，那咱们今天的这个联盟直播就到这里，非常感谢大家，咱们下个星期再见。
Great, thank you so much.
Yes, we talk about this avoiding the shooting war, and also you talked about pickaxes in the camp of against CCP. On Tuesday, Trump had a phenomenal Congress speech, and right after that, the Chinese embassy just posted on X saying that if war is what U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, be it a trade war, or any other type of war, we are ready, unquote. And right after that, Pete Hegseth just said also, like he said, we don't want a war with China, but we're ready. Sir, do you think the U.S. is ready for this?
I think it's Brady brought that up. That's what I was trying to allude to a second ago. People in mainland China in particular understand. People in America are not used to a Chinese ambassador talking about that. Chinese ambassadors are very demure from public statements. They normally just reiterate. In fact, the writing when they put them out shows that the statement was really originally done in Beijing. They're very deferential, very hierarchical. I mean, this is real wolf diplomacy, wolf warrior diplomacy. This is the first time I think the American people really seen the senior cadre of the CCP bare their fangs and really bite down hard. People in the United States took this as a threat of war. And this is why Pete Hegseth said the next day on Fox, they got him on the morning show specifically so Pete could say, hey, if it's war they want, we're prepared. And I think the rhetoric here is running very hot. And I would strongly recommend we've got to dial it down. Now, we'll see if that happens this weekend. But this is unusual and very hot dialogue coming from what Americans view as Chinese diplomats in the senior relationship here running the embassy for the Chinese Communist Party.
Sign up for free.
Thank you very much. As you previously alluded, you said Trump does not want a shooting war and wants to avoid it, with anything he can do. The same thing applies to the NFSC and the freedom-loving Chinese people. We don't want a shooting war, but we want to caution America that be aware of your desire, because the Satan is really good at using your desire as a weapon to subjugate you. So we want people to understand the reason why we advocate for exposing the wealth is because we can pull the rug underneath of the CCP. Because right now, who are going to the war with the Xi? They control the resources. So if we show them the alternative, they will pull the rug from under the Xi. I think that is the golden nugget that we want the world to know. So my next question is here, because you mentioned in your first answer, talking about people within the United States against Trump's kind of American first investment policy, such as bring manufactured jobs backing U.S., particularly Ray Dalio, one of the largest hedge fund manager in the world, Bridgewater, and he, in his latest interview with Tucker Carlson, he stated, it is impossible for the U.S. to compete with communist China in manufacturing, quote, in our lifetime, end of quote. Because the reason he gave is CCP controls 33% of the global manufacture, and they can manufacture cheaply and effectively. And he advocated for competition, global competition, and dismiss Trump's agenda, which he dubbed as protectionism. So I wanted to ask you, so how will Trump and his crew tackle the resistance? And like people from Ray Dalio, because he's not alone, from within the United States in his second term.
Well, first off, let's go back to that interview. I mean, what was not brought up is Ray Dalio is one of the biggest running dogs of the Chinese Communist Party. Ray Dalio has made a fortune. He's a billionaire for one reason. He's one of the leading private equity folks that took American factories and put them into China with the slave labor allowed by Beijing and made a fortune. That's his business model. He's always going to protect the Chinese Communist Party because they're his paymasters. He's a running dog
Yes.
for the CCP, and what he said right there is patently untrue. If we put 20% tariffs on the CCP, their exports to the United States are going to plummet. They understand. I happen to believe 20 to 25% tariffs across the board in the CCP. The country's bankrupt. The CCP's bankrupt in 6 months. I actually think it's the best chance we may ever have of overthrowing them with Lao Beijing, because they're about to collapse. They're highly leveraged. The economy's underperforming, right? A lot of people are restricting exports now, given what they know is the rapacious nature of the Chinese Communist Party. So no, I think it's very powerful, and I think what Ray Dalio says is exactly wrong. This is one of the reasons that we're talking about putting so the size of tariffs on that we're starting to talk about. It's to bring jobs back. Apple Computer doesn't commit to put $500 billion, $500 billion, into Apple factories, into iPhone factories, right, or at our labor rates, unless they understand that something important is happening. Taiwan Semiconductor, it's not simply about a potential coming war in the South China Sea or the Straits of Taiwan. It's also the fact that they understand that tariffs are coming to the United States, and they want to be inside the gate before they get installed. Because remember, you're not going to have to pay any tariff at all if you manufacture here. So there's almost $1 trillion has come back, even from when President Trump announced, or when he had the inauguration. So I think Ray Dalio's mindset for your audience, people that say we're strategic competitors are misleading you. And they always lead you down a path of wrong action. We are not strategic competitors to the Chinese Communist Party. Chinese Communist Party has to be eradicated. And the only people that can eradicate them is Lao Beijing. We're here to assist. But you can't have any accommodation with the Chinese Communist Party. And to me, we should have immediate decoupling. But Ray Dalio, and there's many other Ray Dalios, people that made a fortune off the backs and the sweat of the Chinese people and prepare to make another fortune off it. And that's one of the things we have to stop.
Sign up for free and
So thank you, Mr. Bennett. So basically you're saying that we just need to do more education, basically. We need people to know the truth, right? Because that portion you mentioned, it wasn't mentioned.
This is why I think the new federal state is so powerful. And I keep telling people that the new federal state TV, what you guys are doing is so powerful. It's education on both sides. It's to educate Lao Beijing of what the truth is, because they're fed propaganda all day long. It's also to get right to the middle America, into working class America, with the truth. That's one of the things we try to do on the war room. That's some of the things I try to do on the clear and present danger. But right now we have a unique opportunity to illuminate people. And the reason is they see the biggest people in the world, whether it's Elon Musk, Ray Dalio, Donald Trump, everybody's focused on China in the CCP. This is where everybody's focused. And I think it's incumbent upon us to keep the quality of news up. I mean, you have the daily news every day on Gettr that I link, 2 or 3 stories a day. It's done so perfectly with such smart analytics. But this is what we need to do. It's information war. The Chinese Communist Party is, I believe, next to the MAGA movement, the most sophisticated purveyors of this and operators of this, of information warfare. It's incumbent upon us to continue to hammer and to get it done.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Steve. We're also trying to be the force multiplier for both MAGA and also Chinese people, telling people that this is not a dream for like 10 years, 30 years. The regime change is going to happen this year, and we're pushing this. My next question is about like not just we not just have the sellouts in the United States, but also there are spies and sleeper cells inside the United States from the Chinese Communist Party. And yesterday, Kash Patel announced the arrest of 2 active duty Army soldiers for stealing the America's defense intelligence for the Chinese Communist Party and other adversaries. So how do you think, Mr. Bannon, this administration will do differently against the CCP spies and sleeper cells, and also like at the same time ensuring the separation of the Chinese people and the Chinese Communist Party, sir?
Well, I think you see it. You see the infiltration of the U.S. Army. Remember, this was part of the 2 at the U.S. Army is part of a broader group of, I think, of 12 that have been hacking. I mean, there's a couple of arrests and roll-ups. And part of this, of the 12, have been directly attacking, our brothers over at the Epoch Times, had singled them out for attacks. So whether it's New Federal State, whether it's War Room, whether it's Epoch Times, anybody that comes out and against the CCP, as far as information goes, are going to be brutally attacked. And we now know that there's huge infiltration, as you guys have been talking about, and Miles talked about from day one, not just at Wall Street, not just in Silicon Valley, but you now have, mid and junior range people here that are Chinese Communist Party spies and being hackers, harassing institutions. The Epoch Times guys are going to try to come on the show this afternoon to say that they've been harassed by these people, intensely for the last 6 months. So it's one of the, information warfare and unrestricted warfare. The one thing the CCP's doctrine is unrelenting attacks on their opponents and truth tellers. And so everybody should understand that this is not going to go away. And this infiltration is going to be thwarted under President Trump, but it's so deep into the United States right now at so many different levels that it's going to take a while to clean up. I know personally from Kash, because he's a close personal friend, it's a very high priority in the FBI. But that being said, the scale of the problem is so huge that it's going to take a while to get your arms around it.
Sign up for free and be
we understand, that's a lot of work ahead of this great administration, including FBI and the law enforcement agency. And NFSC is here, and we're ready to help the American people to unveil the truth and to shed the lights on the degree and the extent how bad the infiltration is in the United States and holding those bad actors accountable. So my last question for you, we've recently noticed some very welcoming trends on social media. We notice more and more Americans and who started paying attention to Miles Guo's case. And even some of the things that they posted, they draw a parallel between Trump's lawfare and Miles Guo's lawfare. And we saw a fantastic level of engagement between Americans and with the NFSC communities. Okay, so I just give you an example. One X account, he made a post, and I don't know he or she, but it mentioned that her or his followers increased by over 1,000 followers just in one day. And he or she just realized that this movement is so powerful. So my question is, I wanted to ask your comment and your reaction to this, what I would refer as a convergence of Lao Baixing, whether it's Chinese or whether it's American Lao Baixing, in this people's war that CCP waged against us.
I think it's going to be huge. I think it's one of the reasons that Miles is considered a hero by so many of us. If you go to the War Room Posse, they love Miles Guo, and they think there's something that was lawfare just like used against Trump. They don't know all the details, right, of Miles's case because it's very complicated to follow. But Miles has, the War Room Posse is, in the War Room show is one of the biggest shows on all television. Our audience 100% revere Miles Guo because Miles came on the show for years and years and years, and everything he said about the Chinese Communist Party became true. And remember, in the show itself, we still play Miles' song, Take Down the CCP.
Yes.
And every time we go to a conference, every time we go to a convention, that's one of the songs we play publicly, and all people know the words. Little children will come up and sing it, or dance to it. Miles is a folk hero here, and I think that's why people are so intensely following the trial and what happens to Miles. But, one of the things that Miles told people is that only Lao Baixing can take down the CCP. And the CCP treats the Lao Baixing like a group of slaves. They also try to buy off, other elites throughout the world. And they're deeply infiltrated here in the United States. And I think that's one of the things we're going to have to deal with. You could see it, the corrupt Southern District of New York. And think how President Trump, since he's taken over, the issues we've seen in the Southern District of New York with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, not handing over the Epstein files, right? So this is the corruption of the SDNY. They're firing people there. They're getting rid of it. I believe we're going to find out a lot about the prosecutorial team against Miles Guo, and I think that's all going to be in the future. But I have a high level of confidence that Pam Bondi, who I know very well personally, and Cash, who's a very dear friend, is going to get to the bottom of a lot of infiltration of the Chinese Communist Party into the highest levels of the American government, the highest levels of American society, the highest levels of American finance, the technology, corporations, universities, all of it. Because as Miles told us, for the last 20 or 30 years, ever since the Clintons, right, they've had an active program to infiltrate the highest levels of American society.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely, because I know the deputy DOJ is also in place, Tom Blanchard, if I say his last name correctly. I think so. We're looking forward, to the weeks and months ahead in terms of what's going to happen at the SDNY. So all eyes on them. So thank you so much, Steve. And Roy, do you have another question, or we're wrapping up?
Yeah, let's wrap up. Thank you so much, Steve, for
guys. Thank you so much. I love
you.
the channel. I really love. I was telling Forrest the other day, you guys have done such an extraordinary job on the daily news that comes up on Gettr. Is some of the best news I see in the world. It's as good as the Financial Times, New York Times, or the Wall Street Journal. It's just extraordinary. So keep up the good work, guys.
Absolutely. Well, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
See you next week.
Take down the CCP.
Take down the
Take down the CCP.
Free Miles Guo.
Free Miles Guo.
Free
Thank you.
Miles Guo.
Steve
Love
K.
you
Bannon,
guys.
the co-founder of New Federal China. Thank you so much.
Yes, and if you have not subscribed to the daily news on Gettr, please do so. As you heard the comments Mr. Ben left regarding on the media information that we push out on Gettr. So please do subscribe to NFSC Speaks account on Gettr and on X as well. And we will be here every Friday with the Friday NFSC special with our special guest, Stephen K. Bannon. We will see you next Friday. Bye.
Bye-bye.
美国政府以断交全世界掀起了灭共潮，3道大门都打开，中共死期已到。